In today's episode, we'll be taking a deep dive into how trauma affects the body and can impact your reproductive system and ability to get pregnant. Welcome to the Finally Get Pregnant Naturally podcast, the podcast helping women identify the real reasons you haven't conceived or stayed pregnant so you and your partner can finally grow the family of your dreams. I'm your host, Dr. Katie Wood. Let's dive in, shall we? In this episode, you'll discover how unresolved trauma can show up in the body and impact fertility, practical somatic and body-based practices, and why addressing emotional and generational trauma is just as critical as physical health on your path to conception. I'll be talking with Carah Elizabeth, a clinically trained psychotherapist turned trauma-informed coach. With over 20 years of experience in the mental health field, Carah blends her expertise in somatic healing, nervous system regulation, and energy work to guide women through a deeply transformative journey of reconnecting with their bodies, healing past trauma, and stepping into their true potential. So welcome, Carah. I'm super excited to have you here today. This is a topic that I really, really love to talk about and dive into. So I'm excited to see what you have to share.
Thank you so much. I feel honored to be here. And yes, this is such a vital topic to discuss, especially talking about fertility.
Yes, I think that, there's always a good time, no matter what season of life you're in. It's always a good time to dive into this work. But I feel like the fertility season is a really magical time because not only can it have a positive impact on you, but then also on future generations as well. So it's just a really beautiful time, I think, to become acquainted with and dive into this work if you feel called to. With that said, I'd love to hear maybe your definition or thoughts around what trauma is, what generational trauma is, just for any listeners who maybe aren't really aware of what that means or what that looks like. I know when I was first introduced to it, I was like, trauma? I don't have any trauma. So I think it can be kind of like a newer concept for some people.
Yes, absolutely. So we don't have to call it trauma. Like we call it trauma in the clinical world, but we can call it an emotional experience because trauma doesn't connect with everybody. Like you said, you didn't really think you had trauma. So we can just call it an emotional experience if that's what feels more aligned with us individually. But what trauma does in the system is it actually cuts us off from our body. So we live in our heads, we live in our thoughts, we live in our perceptions. We try to figure things out. We try to use the mind to impact what's going on in our world. And we generally lose feeling of what's happening in our bodies because it doesn't feel safe to feel emotions. This is why sometimes when people go through trauma work is they start to feel their emotions and they get angry or they get scared because they start to feel things that they haven't felt for years, if ever, in their life, because it's been living in their body and they've been living in their mind and trying to make sense of what happened versus feeling it and letting it move through. So your body actually holds on to those emotions and contracts around them, creating these pockets of energy that's not able to flow and move through the system. And then it creates pain, discomfort, ailments, physical constriction in the body. And this is what we see oftentimes, especially with attempting to get pregnant. Fertility is there's so much contraction in the body that it's not a viable home for a child to grow and be carried.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you brought up the concept of we're living in our heads. And I feel
Yes.
like so many of us, especially women these days, we are. And I struggled to get pregnant as well. And it's so easy to get into a fix it mentality, like
Yes.
feeling like you need to fix your body. And that's really, really getting you stuck in your logical brain. Like you just want to rationalize absolutely everything. And that's
Yes.
not, there's always a balance to everything. That's not where we want to be 100% of the time. And going back to your other points that you made is feeling things that either maybe we never truly felt to begin with, or we haven't felt in a while, because a lot of us really weren't raised with the proper tools and understanding and how to navigate big emotions or anything that maybe we went through when we were growing up.
Absolutely. And so all of that holding on and holding in and just trying to keep it together by trying to figure things out, it creates this chronic stress within the system, which then elevates different hormones like cortisol and stress hormones, and it disrupts the natural processes of our body, like sleep, digestion, reproduction. And so it keeps our body in the survival mode, and it prevents the body from actually functioning in the way that it's naturally designed to function.
Hmm. Yeah. I feel like we've touched on my first question already was really
Yep.
how does unresolved trauma manifest in a woman's body and how can it affect reproductive health and fertility? Do you have any more to add to that, or do you feel like we've kind of
Um,
covered all of it?
Yeah, just another little tidbit. When we are in this unresolved trauma, when we have this trauma just living in our body, the body doesn't feel safe. And so it doesn't feel safe to support anything extra, anything outside of what it's trying to do. It's just trying to survive. So we're stuck in that fight, flight, freeze mode that's blocking, like I said before, the natural reproductive process. So regulating, learning to regulate the nervous system, learning to bring in this sense of safety. It creates the safety signals in our biology that we need for conception.
Hmm. And oftentimes I hear from a lot of women that they've tried absolutely everything. They've taken all of the supplements, they've had the labs and the tests done, and they feel like there's nothing more that they can do. And that's not necessarily the case because a lot of times this aspect of our health and vitality and fertility is not being addressed.
Exactly. And what I response to that is maybe you have done everything, but we're not here to do. And so you're doing all the things, you're checking all the boxes, but you're not being in yourself. You're not being in your body. You're not being in a regulated state within your nervous system. And that's what's so important. That's the missing piece is you're so focused on the doing that you're forgetting to be.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I like to remind my clients like it's a daily thing that you really have to show up and choose and put work and effort into. It's not like a one and done and that's it. It's really a daily choice that you have to choose and some days are going to be a lot easier than others.
Absolutely. And when it comes to energetics, we want to talk about the energetics of receptivity. So the uterine receptivity depends on blood flow and calm. Stress reduces this, and energetically, the body, the womb mirrors the woman's ability to receive love, to receive rest, to receive abundance. When we have this stress, and especially when we're talking about fertility and we want to be a mom so bad and we want to get pregnant, but we have this stress and it's creating this contraction. And that contraction is then contracting, constricting the blood flow to the body, to the womb, to the uterus. And so when we're in this contracted state, it's like our body is, again, just trying to hold on and we can't receive. And our body isn't a viable environment for a
Mhm.
fetus to grow.
Yeah, 100%. And so I'd love to hear your take on trauma that's stored in the body. Do you feel that that can contribute to conditions like PCOS, endometriosis, recurrent miscarriage, even premature ovarian insufficiency? Because I just feel like we're seeing that so much these days as well.
Yeah, it's crazy how much we're seeing these things happen today versus when we think about 20, 30 years ago. I absolutely believe that so many physical diagnoses or medical diagnoses are related to unresolved trauma. Because when we think of any of these diagnoses, it is the body attempting to give us a signal. Our body is continually speaking to us. And when we're in a state of living in our head and not connected to our body has to get louder and louder and louder to get our attention. And
Mhm.
that's the way that it does it. It gets sick, it gets diagnosed, it gets PCOS, it's whatever it has to do to get our attention to say, look at me, meet my needs. I need rest. I need whatever it is. It's trying to get our attention. And that's the way that it happens.
And unfortunately, with the Western medicine space, it's just the focus is only on the physical symptoms and not anything that could be going on underneath energetically or anything like that. And a lot of people or a lot of women grow up and they're diagnosed with PCOS and oh, my mom had it, my aunts have it, my sisters have it, and they just think that they are, it's just what it is. It is what it is. It's what they have to
It's
deal with, but it's not, that doesn't have to be your truth. And you could really be the one to break that pattern, that generational pattern that has been existing in your family for really who knows how long.
Absolutely. And that's just a prime example of how trauma gets passed down generation to generation is we have these conditions that are becoming genetic, but the reality is they're at the beginning, they're stress. And so we're just passing the stress from mother to daughter to mother to daughter to mother to daughter.
Hmm.
And stress isn't generational. It doesn't have to be genetic. It's not genetic. It's a mindset. It's how we're learning to be. For example, I was raised in a very fear-based. My mom she was a single mom. There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of financial fear, a lot of stress. And I grew up in that. And a lot of my environments then mimicked that. And I had to go through the process of healing that connection to fear to be able to support myself. And I myself had two miscarriages before I had my son. So there was a lot of trauma that was moving through the system I know was constricting that was
Hmm.
creating that inviable pregnancy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when we're aware of what is available to us, then that's ultimately when we can choose if we want to be that break in the patterns as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Again, awareness is key. Once we have awareness, we have the choice. We have the power to choice. Until awareness happens, it is just a pattern. And we have no choice because we don't know that there's something different. We don't know that that's not normal. We don't know that there's a different way of being. And so we
Exactly.
have power of choice.
Yeah. So I'd love to hear what are some somatic or body-based practices that you have your clients use to support their reproductive health while healing trauma?
Absolutely. So I always like to talk about micro action steps, micro behaviors, because everybody thinks, oh, just go to yoga. Oh, just do breath work. Oh, just do, and it's okay. It doesn't work that way. First of all, it's not easy. You can go and do the yoga poses. You can do all the things and not embody them. So I always like to say, taking micro action steps every day, deciding to do a breath of safety, which is an inhale, like inhaling for a count of 4, exhaling for a count of 8, like elongating the exhales out. That's going to help drop you into your body. That's going to help take your mind out of what's going on because you're going to be counting and you're going to be counting longer. And then it's slowing down the nervous system, it's slowing down the anxiety or whatever is going on as you exhale out 8 and making a conscious effort to do this a couple of times a day and just get curious. Oh, this crazy lady on this podcast told me to do this. Let me just see what happens. Or just get curious about what might happen. And then choosing some, again, ways. I'm in my community right now. We're doing a 30 days of joy, choosing micro moments of joy, feeling the sunlight, the morning sunlight on your skin, or dancing to a song, choosing some moments of joy, especially during this process of infertility, is going to help support your nervous system in feeling safe because joy is an emotion that evokes safety within the system. I'm safe enough to feel joy. I'm safe enough to receive this moment of joy, of laughter, of love, of whatever it might be. But
Mhm.
really being able to choose some activities of joy throughout your days or your weeks. And then the final thing I'd love to have people do is just connect to the womb space, just one hand on the belly or both hands on the belly, closing your eyes and just taking deep belly breaths into that womb space and breathing in love and compassion. Maybe saying something like, I'm safe. It's safe to receive. I'm in a state of safety and regulation, whatever it might be that supports you. But just start connecting with your actual body, start connecting with your actual womb space and seeing
Mhm.
what she might have to say to you. Maybe thoughts will come up or maybe memories will come up. Listen to those, follow those moments of, oh, I didn't realize this memory was still stored here. I was still like, I hadn't felt it for years. Yeah, I've been numb, but it's still here and it's giving you an insight.
Yeah, and I feel like when you start doing practices like that, you become more in tune with your intuition. And because you really have to trust, right? Like when things
Yes.
do come up, it's so easy to be like, that's weird. I don't know why that came up. Like we just want to
Hmm.
brush it off, but it's really no, you want to trust whatever's coming up, even if it doesn't make any logical sense, because it
Exactly.
doesn't have to be logical. That's our brain wanting to make it
Yes.
logical. You really have to trust that. And I feel like that's where our intuition comes into play, which for me and my experience in motherhood, like being connected to your intuition is so vital during your pregnancy, during birth, postpartum, raising your children. Like it's definitely something that you want to reconnect to and rekindle that connection if you have been disconnected from it for some time.
Absolutely. And I always like to make sure my clients know too is you are the expert of your body, not the doctor. The doctor is the expert of the concepts of your body. You are the expert of your body. And when we can attune to that, we can say, this doesn't feel right. Even if the doctor's saying, oh, that's normal. No, no, this, I'm telling you, this doesn't feel right. And I want to get a second opinion or I want whatever it might do. Because then you, again, you're taking ownership of your body. You're taking that back and you're saying, oh, I trust this. Like you said, intuition. Oh, I trust my body. And my body can trust me because I'm going to listen to it when it gives me these messages. And I'm going to follow it and I'm going to honor its needs and I'm going to fight for it in a way that I maybe haven't been my whole life.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Yeah. So, why would you say healing this emotional and generational trauma, why is that just as important as focusing or healing our physical health when trying to conceive?
Yeah, because our we need a foundation to grow on. We need a foundation to move up on. And when our basic needs are not met, and one of our basic needs is environment, and your main environment is your body. When your body isn't taken care of, when it's not feeling safe, it's going to reject anything. This is also why we see our body rejecting pregnancies at sometimes because it feels like a foreign object, right? And that when anything foreign feels unsafe to the body because we haven't supported it. It doesn't know that we're going to take care of it through this. It doesn't know that this is safe. It perceives anything that's different as dangerous. So by helping to rewire the nervous system, saying, hey, I'm safe right now. This isn't dangerous. This is a baby growing and I want this baby and I love this baby and whatever that might be, I'm safe to grow this tiny human inside of me for
Mm-hmm.
9 months. And then my body will be mine again. But right now it's seeing like the fetus takes so much nutrients from us that the body's trying to hold on to because it doesn't feel safe. And so sometimes there is that rejection of the fetus as well.
Mm-hmm. So, if any of the listeners really start exploring and diving into this work, what would you say are some signs that a woman might notice that when she is starting to release trauma from her body?
Emotions. You're going to start feeling emotions when maybe you haven't felt emotions before. Maybe you weren't a crier and all of a sudden you're a crier and you're like, I don't like this. I get it. Feeling emotions sucks. Sometimes it just does. But you have so much. Once we start releasing the emotions you carried for so long and we start processing emotions at the time they're occurring, it won't be as heavy. It won't feel as overwhelming.
Mhm.
But really starting to feel a lot of emotions. And maybe I've had people say, I feel crazy. I know you do. You're not crazy. You're just feeling everything you've stored for years, maybe decades, maybe your entire life at one time. And this is why we have to move slowly. We have to process these slowly. We have to invite ourselves deeper slowly. This is why we don't just jump into the deep end of the trauma all at once. We titrate and then we ground and then we titrate in and then we ground out. We build this sense of safety and trust with our body, but that's a really big key is emotions and then feeling exhausted because you
Mhm.
haven't felt exhausted in a long time. You've just
Mhm.
been running on fumes. You've been going on just continuing to run and go, go, go. That your body is finally, oh, we can feel it. She's feeling us now. Oh, I'm just going to be so exhausted. I'm so tired. I can't even keep my eyes open.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. So I know you have a freebie for the listeners, Unlocking Your Body Blueprint Masterclass, if you want to tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so a lot of the work I do is through the lens of the chakra system or the energetic centers, if you don't want to use the term chakra, and we unlock traumas at the different energetic centers through the body. So this masterclass is an introduction to the chakra system, an introduction to this blueprint of the body that I use to support trauma healing. And so it's a 90 minutes. You're going to get a rundown of the chakra systems, a rundown of those energy centers, of the things that are stored in somatic practices to support you in beginning to unlock those energetic centers in your body.
Beautiful. And the link for that will be in the show notes. So I always love to have my guests share if someone were to really start wanting to get into this type of work and healing for themselves, what are 3 simple action steps you would like to leave with the listeners?
First of all, people might not necessarily like this, but the social media is a wealth of information of this stuff at this point. It's starting to look into and learn about the nervous system. You can use it, social media. You can also use books like The Body Keeps the Score is a great book to begin working on that with. The other thing is just reach out to me, ask me some questions. We can connect as well, because while you could maybe do this work alone, you don't have to. And it can be really challenging to do it alone. So being able to reach out for support, but really learning about the nervous system is the first step, because like I said, awareness gives you choice to make a new decision.
Mhm. Amazing. Thank you. And let the listeners know where they can find you, learn more, and connect with you.
Yeah, I am most active on social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn at this point. I can also leave my email address in the notes as well to get in touch with me there.
Awesome. So everything will be linked in the show notes. And thank you so much for your time and expertise, Carah. It was a really fun conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Katie.
Are you ready to finally discover why you haven't been able to get or stay pregnant? The Ultimate Fertility Blueprint is a quick, insightful quiz designed to reveal your overall capacity to conceive and help you discover potential root causes and areas to address to improve your fertility so you can finally get and stay pregnant. You'll find the link in the show notes. As a quick reminder and disclaimer, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice. Always consult your doctor or healthcare provider before starting any new supplement or protocol, especially if you're actively trying to conceive or undergoing treatment.